Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the May 20th, 2025 edition of Bull Sessions. My name is Mark Robertson. I am founder and managing partner of Manifest Investing, one of the sponsors of this session. We are joined by the magical mathematician from mid-Michigan and hopeful papal candidate, Ken Kavula.
No. You only elect the Pope when the old one dies, and they just elected this guy.
No,
So,
they haven't all died.
and besides, I don't think there's ever been a Presbyterian Pope. Okay.
Well, maybe it's time. Um, We're also joined here by one of Indiana's finest, because she's back in Indiana, Kim Butcher. Good afternoon, Kim. And she may have gone away to shut down construction equipment again, or out to check for the dumpster.
No, I'm here. I'm trying
Okay.
to make sure that the phone doesn't buzz at the same time and everything else.
Oh yeah, there you go. She's basically on the road and dealing with it. And we're also joined by Houston's Matt Spielman. Good afternoon, Matt.
Good afternoon. Busy Tuesday.
Yeah, I've had a couple pretty busy days myself, and those of you wondering about the cover slide, that basically is in homage to our good friend Kelly from Down Under in Australia for a long time, and you'll see another image here in a minute. She keeps chiding us for having pictures of bulls that are not bulls on our images. So these are definitely bulls. So
Now that's far enough to go. Let's just go on to the next slide now. Okay.
we are going to spend some time talking about one of our favorite demonstration portfolios, that electric utility bill auto pay demo, and getting enhanced. The bulls are back, and then we're going to talk for just a few minutes about the Invest America initiative that's part of, and I just hate the way they characterize the darn thing, the big beautiful bill. And let's just hope that they coalesce around something that's a really prudent and effective idea. And we'll talk about that a little bit. All right. Anything else here, Ken? Get the bulls down?
No, I like the bulls, and let's
I
show
do.
them what's not bulls. Okay.
Wait, I'm going to linger here for just a minute longer. Do you realize that we are 1 month and a week or so away from doing this for 5 years?
Oh my goodness! Now is really the time to switch slides.
So,
Okay.
so I think over the next month or so, I think we should have some moments celebrating some of the more interesting things in the past that we have talked about at Bull Sessions. Okay, speaking of things we talk about at Bull Sessions, no investment recommendation is intended. You guys all know this. I see a lot of familiar names in the audience. Welcome back. We're elated that you've chosen to spend some time with us. We are here for the express purpose of riding the wave of the modern investment club movement in the discovery and analysis of ideas, and sharing how we find those and how we look at them with our friends. So you're going to hear our views expressed as opinions and interpretations, and you are reminded to do your own homework when it comes to making any investment decision or the selection of a tool which helps you in that decision. If we own something, we'll try to remember to let you know about that. We don't always do that, but we'll try. And if you'd like copies of the slides, there aren't any big long lists in this one, just a couple. But if you'd like copies of the slides, first of all, if you're a Manifest Investing subscriber, these slides are always available to you in our forum, along with a direct link to the YouTube archive recording. So that's another reason to become a subscriber at Manifest Investing. Or if you have follow-up questions or suggestions for future topics, our 2 email addresses are at the bottom. Anything else, Ken, that we should highlight?
I think that's a good job done, and let's keep on a moving.
Okay, got to be more pictures of bulls somewhere out there. Quick ad for Portillo's expanding into Colorado. Got a couple people from Colorado probably here or coming. So they're coming your way. And yes, there is a hot dog somewhere embedded in those vegetables on the left. And of course, the picture on the right continues to be entertaining, full of ketchup and relish. And I think I'm back pretty close to my cost basis. We do own a few shares of Portillo's for fun, and It's been fun here lately. Gave a little bit back here recently, but it's been okay. But again, do your own homework.
That's the actual color of the relish, by the way, folks.
Yeah, there are people in some parts of the country that might not be quite used to that. It's a
Yeah,
Chicago style dog. All right, pressing on. Just a quick reminder of what these bull sessions are intended to be all about. As I just said, we are doing this for almost 5 years. That'll happen in July, so we'll have some fun with that overall theme. It's really meant to be informal. We'd make it a little bit more formal with just having some slides to operate off of a template and keep notes and share things. But again, it's meant to be a discussion. So if you're out there in the audience and you have audio equipment, you raise your hand, Ken will notice you, and we welcome thoughts, comments, and suggestions. Those are some of those. Kelly Fitzgerald had pointed out that those are not bulls in that picture up at the top of the screen. The one on the sign on the right is a bull, I think.
I'm pretty sure that one is.
So Kelly, if you're listening, there you go. All right, just some themes. Again, the market's been a little bit like the one on the left. I watched some country western movie here the other night, and that could have been a scene right from that movie, but only because I was forced to by my wife and mother-in-law. But we've been talking artificial intelligence. We are going to talk about the electric bill auto pay. And then this is that time of season, the commencement season, and I just love Tim Minchin and the session that is provided via the YouTube link at the bottom of the page. It's pretty good. It's a little bit edgy. I think it's fair enough, but this is one of my favorite points. And I don't put this on here because Ken has paid me or threatened me in any way. I do think that teachers are the most important and admirable people in the world. I really do believe that. And I know many of you out there in the audience can think back to amazing teachers that you've had along the way. And I tend to celebrate them, even if it's just me doing the celebrating this time of year, every single year.
And I think what I would say to people of a certain age, Mark, maybe 50 plus, maybe the AARP group, that the second part of this quote is especially germane to making your life fulfilled and to making it feel worthwhile. Even if you're not a teacher, be a teacher, share your ideas.
Absolutely. And we're going to actually talk a little bit more about Ted Cruz's proposal, which is an opportunity to be a teacher, I believe. And we'll let Ken talk about that. Here's a look at the market. The bar on the right, again, representing the stock market as represented by the value line arithmetic average. We're actually approaching the long-term trend line again, Ken.
Yeah, that's what I wished for last week, and it's coming true there, Mark. So come on, light green line. You only have a little bit more to go now to hit that blue line. And what's especially heartening to me, Mark, is that that gap that we saw opening up between the value line projected number and my par is now beginning to close. It's down to 1.3% right now, and I think that it just reflects the time that the measurement is being taken, when it's being taken, and we know that the value line number moves much more slowly because it's not over the entire database. It's just over 1/13 of the database every week changing. So I'm glad to see them coming back into near sync again. That's where they should be.
Mm-hmm. And there is just some overall notion of the value line stocks being less volatile from an expectations / forecast perspective, less volatile. As they get more volatile, it's usually a uncomfortable thing for the market. I would point everybody's attention to those yellow peaks back in the 2008 financial crisis and the 2020 COVID moment. Those yellow dots virtually going off the page or threatening to leave the page meant that the forecast got kind of crazy. And so we're better off without that happening. And then your reminder at the bottom of the page that, again, we could be accused of rearview mirror, taking credit, Monday morning quarterbacking here, Ken, but during the depths of the most recent challenge, we continued to encourage, find excellent companies and take advantage of lower stock prices, and don't panic. I mean, we had several slides saying don't panic at our recent Saturday presentation, and I will tell you, I'm not making up when I say I backed up the truck right at the bottom. Tried to get my wife to allow us to take out another home equity loan, but she said no again. But yeah, it's a matter of being disciplined and take advantage of those lower prices. Volatility is actually opportunity from our perspective.
I think our audience should be really pleased to listen sometimes to some of the chatter that's going on about the retail investor. And today I heard one of the analysts that 2 or 3 years ago would have been trashing the retail investor as far as how smart they were and how willing they were to do the smart thing in the market. And today I listened to the panel with this particular analyst on it. It also had a couple of the analysts that I really respect on it. It had Josh Brown and Stephanie, give me her last name, Mark, is it Link?
Link would be the
Yeah, on CNBC, yeah.
She used to be TIAA, but now she's
yes, but they basically gave a huge amount of kudos to the retail investor for staying true to being an investor rather than getting just walloped in the market with all this volatility that's been going on in the last month and a half, 6 weeks or so. And we even had Josh indicating that as far as he was concerned, this was the beginning of the golden age for the stock picker again. And I really think that that's where a lot of us have felt that is our sweet spot anyway. It's picking individual stocks, and it tickles us to do that. It's a hobby, it's a vocation, an avocation, I guess. And it's just nice to have it validated by somebody that used to trash the retail investor on a regular basis. So feel good, folks, feel good.
Yep. Yeah, we added on our weekly summary page, Josh Brown put out an article saying, Mama, don't let your babies grow up to be market timers, basically. So it's a good article describing where he came from in the retail brokerage industry, and it's a good one. Check it out there. Here's just a quick check-in on the cash flow trend. We're up to about 70% of the companies covered in the value line standard editions, so I don't expect this to change dramatically as the rest of those fill out with their updates, but we're going to pay a whole lot more attention to this and hope that it gives us some tools and resources for refining our monitoring and analysis systems. Okay, you can definitely see the disruption there from COVID. I resist the temptation to put Cannonball Man on there, Ken. So
it's a nice graph, Mark. It's a really nice graph.
We'll leave that one alone. We'll go to this one, which continues to be extremely disappointing, although I am no longer in last place.
Where are you now, Mark?
Well, I'm a couple of places above last place.
Last place.
Okay, good.
I've lapped a couple of people down at the bottom of the pack, and I am incredibly inspired by the Golden West Model Club, who moved from 174th to 44th on the list. So that just shows you what type of magic can happen.
I want to tip my hat to Marie Frank because it's not quite as dramatic as Golden West, but moving from 143rd to 26th place, I think is pretty darn good. I also want to mention, because I'm forced to, my grandson in 6th place and my colleague in the Wolves Investment Club in 7th place. And Ethan, Papa's made the list now, but Mark had to make it 50 long for me to get onto the list, okay?
We're eager to help you out there, Ken. Plus, with over 200 entrants, 50 is a pretty good accomplishment. If you were in 40th place in the first contest when there were only 16 entrants, you were probably had a real problem. But good stuff. So you can see the numbers are all improving. I mean, 50% of you are beating the market, and those numbers were all much, much redder not that long ago. I think we're down to 11 clubs in the top 40, but there's 14 on here in the top 50, Ken.
Mark, I've had a request in an email. If you could add to this slide in parentheses how many dollars the Wilshire 5000 is worth when the chart gets put up there. So I see you have it as a percentage, but if you could put the 900 and some odd $1,000 in parentheses next to it, we have two different people that think that would be a useful addition to this slide.
Okay, I'm just glad to see that it's not in the top 50 too. That means all of these people are beating that Wilshire 5000.
Yep.
But yeah, I can do that. We'll give it a dollar value along with it.
Yep.
All right, moving right along. Thought we'd talk about this again. Ken mentioned this last week, but just wanted to give it a little more depth and clarity. I think it's a good idea forming. What are your thoughts, Ken?
Well, I don't normally like a lot of the legislation that Mr. Cruz backs, and I don't normally agree with most of his politics. But I think when somebody like Mr. Cruz comes up with a good idea, he should be encouraged. And I think this is a wonderful idea. He's encouraging a program that basically my wife and I encouraged in 1998 within our own family. In 1998, when our first grandchild was born, we told the rest of the family, we're going to put in $1,000 to an account for our grandchild. We're going to start an investment club, and we're going to let you create your own account in that investment club. But we'd also love you to throw in a little bit of extra cash into the kids' account as well, so that by the time she's ready to go to college, she'll have enough to pay tuition, and maybe by the time she graduates, she'll have enough to have a little bit of a nest egg to start her life with. Graduating debt-free and having enough to pay deposits on an apartment and maybe down payment on a car. Those are things that I think that most 22, 23-year-olds, one of those three legs on that stool is just not there for them. And for a lot of them, none of those three legs are there. So back in 1998, we started that. It worked for all of the older grandchildren. And we're doing it now for the youngest one that is now, what is she now? She's 7 years old, I think. And we're doing that for her. Mr. Cruz is suggesting, and Mark, if you go to the next slide, I think it shows exactly what he's suggesting.
Yep, point by point.
He's suggesting that the government seed the account of every newborn with $1,000. And that seems like a huge amount of money until you realize what a weapons system costs or what the deficit for the government is. I'm just not certain that putting in way less than what a weapons system costs into every single child that's born in the country is going to do that much to either help or hurt the deficits in our government. Let that $1,000 seed money grow at a tax-advantaged account. In other words, no taxes immediately to be paid on it. Allow friends, family, and businesses, and basically anybody that you can find to contribute to that account up to $5,000 a year, and then make the account available to the young person. He's suggesting 18. I think that might be a little bit young, but that's a real minor point that can be negotiated out. I'd like to see if you give the child the account, or the teenager, the newly minted adult, the account. I'd like to see some restrictions placed on it. Maybe it can be used for educational expenses or things like that. But again, that can be bargained out. use the money for education. Use it to start a business, to be a businessman if that's what is important to the young person. Use it to buy a house, or use it just to place into another investment account. Whatever they take out is going to be taxed at normal capital gains, and when you're not making a whole lot of money, the capital gains rate is fairly low, so you're not going to pay a huge amount of taxes on that money as it comes out. And make provisions that even employers can add to these accounts if they so choose, or if bargaining units in unions choose to bargain that as a benefit going to people that have children. That's an okay idea as far as I'm concerned as well. I think this is a plan that Democrats and Republicans and independents can coalesce around. And I think if you sit down at a table with 8 or 10 folks from 8 or 10 different viewpoints, you can probably come up with a plan that would satisfy almost everybody at that table, if not the entire table. Again, it's a good idea, and why not at least consider it?
Yep. There will be a lot of details worked out. For instance, I heard that the markup that is currently in progress has raised this 18 to perhaps 25, with some exceptions or conditions to change it, but they're trying to up that age just a little bit. And I'll clean up my language. You're going to hear from some people that complain about investing 20 or 30 billion dollars into young people. Right now, the age, I believe you can actually backdate for 8 years old and younger. And so you're looking at possibly a $30 billion tag. And I will clean up my language, Ken. If we can afford a $2 trillion fleet of jets that may never actually fly, I think we can afford to put 20 or 30 billion dollars into young people. So, well, I had a more strongly worded version of that earlier.
Teachers have been saying things like that for decades, and now we have some high class business people that are maybe starting to say some of those things. Those are some pretty recognizable people over in that CEO council there, Mark, aren't they?
Your girlfriend is their top center?
Yep. That's Lisa Sue from AMD Advanced Micro Devices. Yeah.
So there's some pretty interesting people getting behind this. So it's and again, I think this notion of financial literacy and working with young people to bring this along is a heck of an opportunity. And I would argue for the National Association of Investors and Better Investing, they should be trying to leverage something in here that would help a better understanding of this entire initiative. And let's just hope that something comes of that. Because it's currently a work in progress, and we'll see how it goes.
Wouldn't access to our tools for $20 a year be a wonderful thing, Mark, for any person under the age of say 18?
Yeah.
The thing there's all kinds of things that can be done, and I'm sure they can be leveraged, and maybe we're just not aggressive enough in seeking people to help programs like this, but maybe there's a chance that we could become a little bit more aggressive and begin understanding that if our younger people don't understand capitalism, then I think we're doomed to become a non-capitalist country. And I don't think most of us would be very comfortable living in a non-capitalist environment at the moment. I'm speaking for myself, but I think I probably have a lot of people that feel the same way.
Absolutely. The one thing I would like to see somebody to kind of tackle is this one just a little bit. There's nothing wrong with an S&P 500 index fund, but again, we already know that all of the above is probably better over the long term. And why limit it to just 500 companies, including some companies that are not very strong? And all large companies, we know that small, medium, and large works better. So again, I would lobby for a deeper understanding of what might be possible. Still keep it simple, but find a way to basically open up some stuff to an even bigger opportunity. And the reason that we lean on that, because we know every percentage point you can pick up on that ladder makes such a large difference for something like this. We're talking about money that's untouchable for 18 to 25 years. So therefore, it should have a very long-term perspective, and it should be, I'll avoid the word aggressive, but it should be fairly assertive. Okay.
Well,
And
there's a lot of things that have to be talked out. Kay is signaling out in our audience that we have to be aware that when we set these things up, there's going to be fees for administration, but we know that the loads attached to index funds are extremely low, and there needs to be watchdogs to keep those loads low. You know, an index, no matter whether it's the S&P 500 or the Wilshire 5000 or the value line, one of the value line funds, you know, any of those things, we would have to watch the loads. There's all kinds of details that would have to be worked out. But I think right now the goal would be to get the idea to a place where you could begin to actually seriously discuss it and make sure that it's included in the budget. I'd like to see that sentence on the conclusion there that's coming from Perplexity say, Ted Cruz's Invest America Act represents a major initiative to promote investment, because I think this is something that every single American can join in and help our children. It doesn't have to be a Republican or a Democratic initiative. It can be just a major initiative to promote investment, wealth building, and economic engagement from birth. It's a wonderful sentence.
And just to give a feel for what type of numbers are you talking about, this is basically just a what if. It's looking back, what if this program existed 18 years ago? And what if you invested it in either the value line arithmetic average, which has been in a bit of a slump for just the last few years? Historically, that red one would be on top. But there's your S&P 500, and then just for kicks, the QQQ, the NASDAQ 100, just to show how a couple percent more performance. Again, it takes it from $400,000, guys, for an 18-year-old. Moves it up closer to $800,000. So again, that's why I think this needs to be very carefully looked at. Again, with the notions of risk, again, moving up this table that we show every week is important. You see that QQQ up among those companies, and some of our demonstrations are up near the top, and then of course everything else is index central down at the bottom. Lower third, I should say. So anything we can do to help that awareness and understanding along, we probably should be doing that. We'll have more on this. I mean, I've already exchanged a couple of tweets with the guy that's working with Ted Cruz.
Not to change the subject, but this is the first time I've seen an annualized total return that's green for Buttonwood. So hooray, hooray, hooray. Okay.
Sneaking into point one, because, oh boy, we have these moments as investors. So let's go ahead and keep pressing on. We have managed to get bitten a little bit by United Health Group, which was at the top of this list not very long ago again. And IAS had a changeover in management, which was fully planned and coordinated, and they're still getting dinged for some reason. But we've got pretty strong faith in all of these companies.
I think that I've been getting a little bit of email, Mark, about are we fooling with the portfolio too much? And I think we're demonstrating what happens with a brand new portfolio when you try to create it in a complete list of 14 or 15 or 16 stocks. You make mistakes, and I think you have to, in the early stages of managing that portfolio, you have to be willing to tell yourself you made a mistake and change it, fix it. I think that the number of of ins and outs in the portfolio is going to begin to reduce drastically now as we settle on 10 or 12 holdings that we feel confident we can keep in the portfolio for at least 5 years, if not longer.
Yep, we'll see where it goes. I mean, Lululemon will be on a bit of a hot seat for us, especially if it gets any hotter with respect to stock price, but we'll keep rolling along. How are we doing in general? Well, the last month has actually been good, but it's actually below average, believe it or not. And our balance is up over 4,000, and more, even more importantly, that future value continues to hover out there at very respectable levels. So we'll just keep an eye on that and continue to hope for the best.
And again, Mark, this chart that I had some reservations about is showing the difficulty in keeping the par at a level that's going to assure you great growth out into the future when the market is doing a lot of really fast growing. I mean, these companies didn't change that much, but par has gone from around 16 to around 12. And that's because prices have moved in the opposite direction.
Absolutely. All right. Pressing on, let's go ahead and talk for just a few minutes about the electric utility bill auto pay demonstration. Many of you are familiar with this. I think it's a pretty cool demonstration of a virtually passive portfolio where we're basically building it so that the dividend stream, the dividend income, covers the monthly bill. And we shared that this is based on Ken Janke's personal experience with his father, who lived through the Great Depression and some terrible moments in the stock market. 1938, by the way, was extremely rough on Michiganders, and that kind of finished him off until Ken actually said, I can prove to you that with just a handful of utility stocks, you won't have to write another check to Detroit Energy. And he made that happen, demonstrated in real life. So we thought we would just kind of see, can we recreate that? So we basically bought those stocks that you see on 524. We'll actually take a look at them, but it's also given us an excuse to become aware and learn about JEPI. So we'll talk about that. So the question is, has the utility bill been paid for the last 4 years while maintaining a positive cash balance? Anything else you'd like to add here, sir?
I just want to emphasize that this has been going on for 4 years now, and it's a successful recreation. I just wish maybe I would have done this with my own electrical bill 4 years ago. You know.
Well, I've been tempted to transpose it into other stuff, and I think I'm going to do that here fairly soon if I could just get a few more hours in the day. All right, so we had 5 electric utilities to start with. We did not decide to sell South Jersey Industries. That was stolen from us, but they paid a nice price for it. It was actually a 20% gain at the time. We did decide to sell Essential Utilities for the tax loss. And that was just some portfolio management stuff. But you can see that we added positions in JEPI, which is JP Morgan Equity Premium Income. We'll talk about that a little bit more if you're not familiar with that. Pfizer and Dorchester. And we'd be happy if the level of investment, which was 45,788, if we stayed in that neighborhood. And we're actually still at 50. We've gone up nearly 20%. We have almost $55,000 for an account balance right now. Here's a look at the answer to the question.
Well, Mark, before you get off that slide,
yeah, go ahead.
I just want to draw a couple numbers to the people's mind, because I will be using them later, or at least I'll be using them later. I'm looking at NextEra Energy, Pfizer, and Dorchester Minerals, and I'm saying to myself, if I were to sell those 3 right now, I would have not very much capital gain in any of those, and I'd be making somewhere around $15,000 by selling those three. And
Okay.
I just want people to kind of hold that $15,000 in their mind until we get to a couple slides going in the future.
Okay, now I think NextEra is a great utility. I'm kind of surprised that they have been a little bit sluggish up here on the stock price. I'm not sure what
Yeah.
to blame that on, but we could look into that a little bit deeper. Okay, so every single monthly utility bill since we started this has been paid in full. We have kept the lights on for 4 years. We have paid all of our taxes that were due on any dividends and or capital gains. And that $330 initial cash balance has now gone up to 1104.51. So what you see is just the most recent year, basically. The ones not highlighted are actual transactions. The ones that are kind of highlighted at the bottom of the page are budget expectations. You can see that we did adjust the payment because the utility told us that we're on the payment plan. You take the annual amount and divide by 12. We had to adjust that up by 3.4% because our fictitious utility decided they wanted more money from us. So you can see that we're actually paying more per month now for our electricity.
Mark,
It's
could you
only
put
one things constant in life. Bills go up.
Bills go up. They do.
Mark, could you put a tick where that 1104.51 is? Because for some people's computer screens, mine included, that orange is not showing up at all. So
Okay.
there's the end of the current, and then anything below that tick is the budgeted, the projected.
And obviously that cash balance column circled in green, that's what we want to keep above zero. We're comfortably above zero for right now. And you can see the flow of the dividends. You can see the JEPI dividends, or they're paid monthly. The utility dividends are paid quarterly. And I've never been much of a dividend investor. I know Steve Emmerich is breaking out in a cold sweat as he looks at this because I know he likes the dividends. Yeah, this can be a lot of fun. All right, so speaking of dividends, when we were forced to sell South Jersey Industries, we were prompted about a year into this effort to consider other alternatives. And somebody, I don't remember who it was. Was this your idea, Ken, or did this come
No,
from?
JEPI was not my idea. I wasn't even aware that a fund like this existed. So this was new for me as well, Mark.
I'll
Thank
go
you, Christy Powell. That's where I heard about it from.
Christy Powell. There you go. There's a celebrity name from the better investing community. So Christy Powell, I think you're right. I think she probably mentioned it as a way to pick up some income. So this is an actual ETF, an exchange traded fund with the ticker symbol JEPI, JEPI. It's actually made up of, the actual holdings in the fund are a bunch of pretty high quality community favorite names. I mean, I think every company on that list pretty much passes the test, doesn't it? That's a good list of companies. That's just the top 25. I think they hold about 50 or 75. And the point I wanted to make on the lower right, that's the actual price of the equity, the actual exchange traded fund, and that's been fairly steady, and it's been going up pretty well. It did have that moment here. I mean, that was as uncomfortable as everything out there. It has recovered, but you also see the monthly dividend payments going all the way back to 2022, and you can see that they're variable, and that's because we're gonna show you that next, but because it's a covered call strategy, and the return on the options is variable month in and month out. I do note that this is the best result here in the last 3 or 4 years. For the most recent monthly payment, you find that back right here, 488. And if you sneak back up the page, you see this 328, 326. So again, a variable amount of a dividend payment per month, but a fairly substantial amount. And that leads us to this one. I just went looking for some alternatives as we perhaps think about making some adjustments come August. Your thoughts, Ken?
Well, we talked about this at length before the session started, Mark, and I'm intrigued by these instruments that Perplexity pointed out might be something to consider if you already are considering JEPI. There are three other funds, one of them a cousin to JEPI called JEPQ, and then two other funds that have a little bit different focus, maybe have a little bit different yield attached to it. And of course, you have to deal with tax efficiency when you're getting yields coming out. The one that intrigues me the most, Mark, is the one at the bottom with the highest yield, or with a very high yield compared to JEPI. JEPI's around 8%. And that spins off these things rather than spinning off the income as dividends, which are taxed at your normal tax rate. This is spun off in a 60-40 ratio in long-term, short-term capital gains. Now, short-term capital gains are taxed at the same rate as normal income, but they can be offset with short-term capital losses. The 60% short-term or long-term gains are taxed usually at a lower rate than what your income tax is. And if you're dealing with fairly large sums of money, that might be a substantial tax savings. I'm going to take a small amount of money and I'm going to buy some of the first one and the third one, and then I'm going to watch them for the next 6 or 8 months and see how they actually behave, what's actually being spun off from them. And then when tax season rolls around, I'll be very interested to see the paperwork that's going to come. Mark and I both are questioning what the heck is this Section 1256 contract. So that'll be one of my first questions to my AI search engines here to explain to me in detail what is a Section 1256 contract, how does it work, and what does it look like. So it'll need some research, but I really would suggest that $15,000 that we have up there, if Mark thinks that utility that's in a negative right now is a good one, then I would not suggest getting rid of it all. But I was going to suggest a challenge to the utility with another utility, and then I was going to suggest that we take the Pfizer holding and the Dorchester Minerals holding, and we put them into some of these alternatives that have been suggested by Perplexity right here, just to get a feel for how they operate, so we can report to our audiences what kind of income they are generating in the whole scheme of things. So I think we can play around with that a little bit, and in the whole scheme of things, capture some capital loss on top of everything else with the Pfizer and Dorchester Minerals holdings, which both have capital losses. So capture those losses, maybe make a teachable moment with some other kinds of holdings, other kinds of ETFs, and maybe challenge and find a better utility that might give us a better return than the one that we have in that first utility there. So that's just some suggestions that I'm making to take us, in the next week or two. We can look at it in both sessions and make some minor adjustments as we go forward.
Absolutely. I'm pretty sure that Nick DiVirgilio is one that brought QYLD, that second one, to our attention over the course of the last year, and he was just basically saying, this JEPI's good, but don't these merit a closer look? I think he's right. So let's demystify them and understand them and decide whether or not they are something that we should pay some attention to.
Mark, here's Betsy Wills answering us right here in our audience.
Of course.
Saying that ETF.com also has a comparison function that gives alternative ETFs and compares them. So ETF.com is a website you might want to take a look at, folks. And she says there's not even any need to use Perplexity. You can get the information about these 1256 things Uh, Betsy, we're trying to encourage people to use these engines, so that's why we mentioned it. But she says there's other more traditional ways to get that information as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can also force your AI chatbot to actually make sure that it looks at ETF.com. You can actually enter that in. So that's really all.
In your prompt, yeah.
Yeah, that's basically all I had for today. Here's a look at our last 12 sessions, including bull sessions and roundtables, going back over the last several weeks. We do archive these here, and they are available to you to go back and check in. Whole bunch of AI stuff in this April 2025 last month's roundtable. We do have a roundtable coming up next week. And so in 7 days, we will be doing the May roundtable. So we have already begun to hunt down some opportunities. I suspect that we will talk about some of those in the pre-session, bull session, before the next month roundtable next Tuesday.
Those links for that roundtable, which is the day after Memorial Day, went out yesterday. So if you did not get a link from our guest list, drop a note to Mark or a note to me, and we'll make sure you get a link for next week's roundtable. Remember, that's at 8 o'clock Eastern time, not 8:30, 8 o'clock Eastern time, and it will be the day after Memorial Day on the 27th.
Yeah, I think everybody will be back at it by then.
I do too.
Here is a quick plug for the virtual national convention, which is June 7th and June 14th. I believe it's from 9 or 10 in the morning Eastern time to mid-afternoon on those two dates. And Ken and I are part of a couple of sessions that you see up there at the top. That opening panel session, Ken and I will be joined by Pat Donnelly, Cy Lynch, Robin Ware from Florida, and Betsy, who you just heard mentioned from Colorado. And Betsy, I'll get you more information on where those Portillos are headed in Colorado, just to make sure that you're fully aware of that. And Ken and I will be doing our traditional Two Guys Talk Stock at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And that is on June 7th. I'm 99% sure.
Yes, it's on the same day as the stock panel, Mark. You're right.
Okay. So we'll have some fun with that. 18 different sessions featuring many names that you know, including our own Matt Spielman doing his session, and others. I hate to slide in.
We have a nice question from Dwight. Dwight, there's a fee attached to the virtual bank. These are not free programs. There is a fee attached to them. And when you pay the fee, you don't need to actually attend any of the sessions if you don't want to. Every single session is going to be recorded, and then you will receive a copy of that recording with the fee that you paid, and you can listen to them then at your leisure. So if you have a conflict on the second day, if you've registered, you're going to get a recording of all the sessions without you having to worry too much about doing anything other than paying the registration fee. For that kind of information on how to register and what it costs, you'll need to go to the Better Investing website, and right on the front page, the opening page of the Better Investing website, they are advertising Virtual Bank right now, and you can get all the information you might need. That's betterinvesting.org for those of you that don't go there regularly. Shame on you, by the way, but it's betterinvesting.org.
No admonishing the audience, Ken. Save
Okay.
that for me.
I apologize.
I'm going to close out with a tip of my cap to a grandson. That happens to be our grandson, second from the left in the front row. And this was a tournament that Wendy and I attended this weekend in Traverse City, beautiful Traverse City. And it was chilly, though. It was chilly, drizzly, and my phone said feels like 36 degrees, but a really warm moment there. I think you see some pretty happy 10-year-olds. And here's a plug for Herb Lemcool. I mean, I was just thinking, Ken, about their July 4th thing, and they have the movie festival up there, or at least they used to. They just have a number of wonderful events and things to do, and they do such a nice job as a community putting on this type of thing.
Well, the cherry festivals there, the National Cherry Festival, Mark, and if they can run that thing and keep that city open and moving around, they're attracting, they're increasing the size of their city by a factor of 12 or 13 when the Cherry Festival comes into town. So they can handle these events that are small compared to the Cherry Festival. Okay.
Well, I will tell you, I didn't total it up, but I think there had to be 800, perhaps even over 1,000 teams at this event playing 4 games. Can you imagine? I mean, it was fields as far as you could see, soccer fields, and
Yep.
they did a wonderful job. So again, Traverse City is just a great host for this type of stuff.
Well, I'm going to have to get permission from Ethan, Mark, to put up a picture of him when he was a little kid running through the shower sprays at Bluebell Beach right here next to our home. And it's just a picture of pure unadulterated joy. So if I can get his picture to put up here, we'll put that up in the next couple of weeks for folks to look at, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you, Ken. All right. So with that, I think we can say thanks, everybody. We will be out there studying those derivative income opportunities. And again, we will be doing a preview session for next week's roundtable next time we're together. Thanks, everybody.
Good afternoon, all.
Those are bulls, Ken. 1 month till we celebrate with extra helpings of bull.
I think the bull has been going around a long time.
Bye-bye, Kim. Bye-bye, Matt. I'm going to close the webinar down.
Take care. Oh, okay.
All right, bye, guys.
Well, stick around, Ken. We're gonna.
Oh, you want me to
let
keep
everybody.
it open?
Yeah, let's keep
Okay.
it open. I'll stop the